And we should be live, I believe. Welcome to the Friday edition of Finish First Financially's live stream. Goran Radanovic here. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Well, there's actually nobody watching at the moment, but let's hope somebody eventually does. And I'll just have to keep going until that day. So it's 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's my goal, to have these live streams on YouTube. Obviously, I'll post them also on all the podcast platforms so you can listen to it later. I think even on Spotify, you can watch the video. And my intention is to do them Mondays through Fridays, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And really, the long-term goal with these live streams is for me to have enough viewers so that we can actually have people calling in live and via video call. So you can also see them, you can hear their problems, so you can relate to them, and you'll listen to what my thought on their problem is, how I overcame the same or similar situation that they're going through, so that all of us can learn. That's really what it's about. That's where I want to take the channel, and hopefully we get there as soon as possible. That would be great. But I just have to keep going. And with 0 viewers at the moment, it is what it is. So I'll just have to keep providing the value until eventually people start tuning in, and hopefully that's soon. But right now we're going to carry on. And today I wanted to talk about the reason why most people don't save money. Now, when you hear something like that, you immediately think, well, geez, Goran, I'm not making enough money. Inflation is out of control. The prices at the grocery stores are just excessive. We're not coping as a family. It's really difficult. And interest rates have gone up. So now my mortgage is even higher. And I can completely understand that. I sympathize with that. It's definitely, those are factors, no doubt about it. I completely understand, especially when you're bogged down by debt. It's very difficult to kind of find any wiggle room to get yourself out of a hole, and you just think that, oh, maybe, let me just take on more debt because that's going to help me. And although taking out debt, let's say a personal loan as an example, might provide you, or even a credit card, provides you with temporary relief. And it feels good for some time, because you've got this money that someone has just really given to you. It's like a line of credit. And you're using it and you feel better. But the problem is that you are going to have to pay that back. You see, that's the way it works with debt. You've got temporary relief, but eventually you have to pay it back. And when you start paying it back, it's going to be even more difficult than what it was before you took out this debt. So temporary relief with debt that you take out, but long-term pain that comes along with it. So that's not the solution. Taking on more debts, that absolutely is not the solution. So what is the real reason? If you really think about it, why are you not saving money? You're going to say, well, it's my insufficient income, expenses are out of control, and I get that. And when I realized why I wasn't saving money, it's when a friend of mine told me to examine my lifestyle, to really look at it. And I said to her, no, but money is important to me. I want to save. And she said, go look at your lifestyle. And then I analyzed it and I saw that I was living in an upmarket area. I was driving a fancy BMW. I had all the latest phones and iPads and all these nice gadgets. And that's when it hit me that saving money wasn't a priority to me. What was a priority to me was living this lifestyle that I couldn't afford. So I took out borrowed money in order to fund all of these expenses that I felt gave me status and comfort. So the number one reason why I wasn't saving money and why most people don't save money is because saving money is not a priority to them. They value other things more than saving money. So that's an extremely, extremely important concept to grasp. Is saving money a priority to you? And if you're a spender, which most people are who have debt and who don't have any savings, then saving money is not a priority to them. I know that sounds crazy. It's like, how can it not be? All of us want money. All of us don't want to be in debt and we don't want to struggle. And that's true. Who wants to struggle? But the problem is that you actually do struggle because you're fighting for this life that you can't afford. And then you take out borrowed money to finance this life. So in that instance, if you just listen to what I said now, you're fighting for this life that you can't afford. So what is actually the priority there? It's this lifestyle. Because if saving money was a priority to you, you would be living the life that you can afford. But you're not doing that because you value other things more than saving money. It's really as simple as that. It's really as simple as that. And this is a big thing, by the way, that I realized. It's like, especially when I did this analysis, like self-analysis, after my friend told me to look at my situation. I think this was probably like 11 years ago that she said this. And up until then, I was in finance at the time, and I thought, no, of course I care about money. What are you talking about? Saving money is important to me. And then when I did this analysis and I saw all the things that I've got and how they were acquired, meaning via debt, that's when I realized that I valued all of those things much more than saving money. So if you look at yourself, if you look at your situation, and you see the way you're living, and you don't have any money, what are the things that you're spending most of your money on? I think that's a very good place to start. You compile a cash flow statement, which is what I call it, and which is what it is. It's actual figures, not a budget where it's forecasted and you're guessing, estimating, whatever it is. And you use actual figures by obtaining all of the receipts for all of your expenses, and then you record them so that you know what you're actually spending. So you compile this cash flow statement and you look at the percentage of your salary that you're spending on your cars, on rent, on going out, buying clothing, taking vacations, and so forth. And you look at that and you will know the answer, what you prioritize. It's really as simple as that. Those major expenses that you've got are more important to you than saving money. So, but you're going to say to me, no, but my rent is expensive. I have to live somewhere. Yeah, that's true. You have to live somewhere, but you don't have to live there where you are now, where it's costing you 30, 35%, 40% of your salary to live in this apartment or wherever you are. You can go to a cheaper neighborhood. You can rent out a room so that you've got some rental income from that room. You can make adjustment. You can even rent a room yourself as opposed to renting the whole place. So there are alternatives to your situation. But the problem is people value status and comfort. Comfort really is, in your environment where you're living, comfort is, I don't want to share my place with anybody. It's weird. Why would I want to welcome somebody in here and I have to share the bathroom, have to watch them cook, and that's just, it's not me. And I get that. I absolutely understand that, and also wasn't me as well until I realized, the fastest way that I'm going to get out of debt is just to completely eliminate the expenses I don't need and reduce every other expense. And when I saw my cash flow statements, I was paying, say 25%, I think, of my salary. I was going, 25 to 30%. I mean, was the rent. So it was a bit steep. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spend that much on rental. And I went and rented a room from an elderly couple. They were staying in a 3-bedroom complex. It was a very nice place. 2 of their bedrooms were empty, and I just rented out the one place. And they were very nice. But by doing that, I reduced my rental expense by 50%. That's what it is. So this is why I say the cash flow statement is so vital, so that you could see right in front of yourself or your own eyes, so that it hits you as to what you're spending your money on, as to what you actually value, what you prioritize. And it's those figures there on that cash flow statement that will tell you what you prioritize. Because if saving money was a priority to you, those expenses would be reduced at the bare minimum and or eliminated, because that's how you show your commitment towards saving money. You need to prove it. It's not like me, where I just said no, but saving money is important to me, and then when I did the whole analysis and all that, it's like, oh, well, no, it's actually not important to me. What's important to me is driving that fancy BMW that I had. What's important to me is living in that nice neighborhood, so I'm close to work. Those were the things that were important to me, were more important to me than saving money. Even though I obviously wanted to save money, sure, everybody does, but is that the most important thing? And if you're in debt, if you don't have any savings, then saving money is not the most important thing to you. That's just the way it is. There's no other way to explain it, and that's the way that you need to look at it. And I know some people get offended because they say, look, I'm struggling already as is. I've got all this debt. I've got, kids, and they're going to private schools and all of this and that. Well, just there, right there. Why are your kids going to private schools? Why don't they go to public schools? Find a cheaper alternative. There's always some way you can reduce your expenses. There's always an alternative to your situation where you're not going to die if you make the change. So that's one of the main reasons as to why people don't save money. It's simply because they don't prioritize saving money. It's really as simple as that. And if you think about that, it's a simple concept, but it's actually quite profound. When you're asking yourself, if I hadn't told you, you didn't listen to me today, you didn't get this information, you're sitting at home and you're wondering, why am I living paycheck to paycheck? Why can't I ever, live normally and not have debt and have savings? And now you know the answer, but you'd be hard pressed to find that answer. So maybe value this knowledge for what it is. I think it's very simple. It's nothing earth shattering, yet it kind of gives you a different perspective. I think that's one of the most important things when you're learning something new. And when somebody's helping you, they can see things from a different viewpoint than you. They're able to see something that you're not, because you're in that situation, you're going through it. You don't really have a holistic view of it, a bird's eye view approach. Whereas that person who's coming from the outside can analyze your situation from all angles and kind of spots some of the small stuff that you might miss, which could be very important. So that's one of the things that I absolutely found to be completely valuable. And then once I realized that I didn't make saving money a priority, I completely changed my cash flow statement to ensure that I did make saving a priority. And that meant reducing the expenses that I don't need, eliminating the expenses that I don't need, and then reducing all the other expenses. And that meant obviously a change in my lifestyle. But I was prepared to make that sacrifice because I wanted to prove, demonstrate that I was serious about saving money, that it was a priority, that having money at the end of the month meant more to me than having that fancy BMW, than living in that specific neighborhood, than having all these phones or whatever it was. I had to show that. And it wasn't about proving to somebody else. It was more like proving to myself. And once I made that shift, that adjustment in my lifestyle, I proved to myself, first of all, that saving is a priority to me because I'm willing to make the sacrifice. And, I'm going to downgrade my lifestyle, and I'm able to live on that lifestyle without feeling like I'm strained or I'm making like such a huge sacrifice and this is so miserable. It's not like that. So that was a major breakthrough for me. I'm gonna go to Finish First financially. Sorry, it's so hot here. I think it's like 37 degrees today. I'm not sure what that's in Fahrenheit, like 350 or something. I'm not sure. So finishfirstfinancially.com is my blog. You can read all the articles there. You can book a consultation with me, a private one-on-one. You can get my book From Homeless to Debtless with Savings. It details my entire journey, how I lost everything and how I managed to get out of that hole and pay your $40,000 in debt and save up $50,000. All of that information is available on finishfirstfinancially.com. Just keep in mind that everything I say is not financial or investment advice. It's purely for entertainment purposes. You do what you want with that information. I'm just sharing my experiences. So let's check out this article. Why you're not saving money. Finishfirstfinancially.com is where you get it. Okay, so I wrote it in March this year. Said, back when I knew very little about money management, I believed that if I earned more money, I would solve all of my financial problems. I eventually received several raises and higher paying jobs, yet my financial problems persisted. No matter how much my income increased, I could never save money. I thought that the increases weren't big enough. They were. I couldn't get a grip on my finances and I had no idea what was the root cause. It seemed like the universe was conspiring against me to ensure that I would fail financially. Not once did I think that I was the cause of all of my financial problems. Surely it couldn't have been me. But it was. Once I examined my spending habits, attitude towards money, and the things that I valued, I realized why I was not saving money. Here are some of the challenges that held me back. I think you'll find that some of them apply to you, if not all of them. Okay, so the first one is saving isn't a priority for you. But how can I say that? Of course you want to save money. That's important to you. While your actions show otherwise. I also thought that money was a priority to me until a friend of mine told me to look at my lifestyle. It turns out that saving money wasn't a priority for me. I valued other things more, such as status and comfort, which is something that my expensive apartment and luxury car provided. I spent money on those because I wanted to appear successful. Other people's approval of my material possessions meant more to me than saving money by driving a regular car and living in a mediocre apartment. I could have downgraded my lifestyle and lived just fine, but I wanted possessions that would elevate me to a higher level. The problem is that those possessions were expensive. Whenever I had to make a choice between opting for a regular purchase or a fancy one, I'd choose the latter because I got pleasure from owning items that are made by well-known brands. This is actually a common problem that many people have. It's slightly less of a problem when you're buying expensive items with cash. Obviously, I didn't. The items I purchased were out of my budget, so I financed them. And that brings me to the second point why you're not saving money is because you have too much debt. Okay, let's see. How much debt is acceptable? None. The best debt is non-existent. I don't believe in good debt. I really don't. I know if you were really to push me for an answer, I would say like, I think did I even write it in here? Okay, yeah, here it is. I'm debt free and I can tell you that it's one of the best feelings in the world. But if you're going to have debt, then it should only be a house mortgage. That's it. Most people can't afford to buy a house with cash. I get that. So if you, I suppose you might say that mortgage is one of the safest debts that you can take. It's not bulletproof, it's not risk-free, but the chances are the value of your property might rise throughout the years. So if you take out a mortgage and then your house's value increases, you're going to have positive equity. You're going to have equity in it. So worst comes to worst, where you can't make payments anymore for the next 20 or 30 years, you're likely to be able to sell that house and make a profit off of it. So that's why many people consider a house mortgage to be one of the safest debts. Although preferably you don't take out any debt, but if it's going to be a debt, then I guess a house mortgage is what I might accept for myself. Okay, so the biggest problem, this is what many people who have debt struggle with. The biggest problem with taking on one debt is that you see the value that it adds to your life and you want more value, so you take on more debt. Why stop with a house mortgage when you can also have a fancy car with vehicle finance and the latest gadgets paid for with your credit card? Because having debt payments limits your savings. The more debt you have, the less you're able to save. It's really as simple as that. Okay, let me just read this next paragraph and then I'll say something. I had vehicle finance, a personal loan, an overdraft, credit card debt, and I even owed a creditor for my furniture. That's too much debt. Having debt means that your income comes in and then immediately goes out to the different creditors. So please explain to me how you can have savings if the majority of your income is going to the banks and other lending institutions. See, that's the thing. One of the things that I spoke about on several live streams is the time period that it takes for you to pay off your debt is much longer than the time that it takes for you to save up the equivalent of your debt in savings. Meaning, let's say you've got $50,000 in debt. To go from minus 50,000 to zero is going to be a lot longer than from going from zero to saving up $50,000. Because the majority of your income is going towards debt. You're making all of these payments every single month. So how can you save anything? It's impossible. It's very difficult at the very least. It's very difficult. Not impossible, but very, very difficult. So once you pay off that debt and you no longer have all of these payments going out to debtors, that money is just going into your savings and it's compounding. So that's why saving $50,000 if you're starting from zero is a much quicker process than being $50,000 in debt and having to pay that off. Okay, next one. Next reason you're not able to save money is because you haven't conditioned yourself to save. Remember, you're in debt and you've got no savings, you're a spender. You're not a saver. So let's see how you become a saver. Remember when you were a small child and you rode a bike for the first time or got into the pool? I'm sure that you'll recall being scared. Those activities were new to you. You probably fell off your bike for the first time and you cried when you got in the water. You were in uncharted territory and you had no idea what to do. But the more you rode your bike and the more you swam, the easier it got, until eventually those became second nature. The reason those became second nature to you is because they were a habit. It's something you did over and over again. Saving money is a habit. One of the biggest reasons people don't save money is because they haven't conditioned themselves to save. You need to develop the habit of saving money, and over time, you condition yourself to save. So it's just repeating the same thing over and over again, sticking to it, being disciplined. And over a period of time, that becomes entrenched in you. It becomes part of your personality. And it's just like you have this mind shift, like in mentality and in behavior and all of your thoughts. You become like a different person on this particular aspect of your life. You completely change. It's actually quite a fascinating thing that happens to you because of this new habit that becomes entrenched and conditions you to be in a certain way. Okay, so, but how do you develop the habit of saving when you don't have any money? Reduce your expenses. You're most likely living a life above your means, and there are definitely expenses that all of us can reduce or eliminate to have more money at the end of the month. This will require you to lower your lifestyle. And no, that's tough, right? Well, that's what is required for you to have money at the end of the month. Receiving a raise or a high paying job isn't going to do the trick. You'll always find a way to spend that additional income, leaving you with nothing to save. That's what happens with spenders. They get more money, they find a way to spend it. They're not saving that money. That's why they're always paycheck to paycheck. And you see the statistics, 60% of six-figure earners in America are living paycheck to paycheck. So they're making $10,000 or more, well, 9,000 technically or more, and yet they're living paycheck to paycheck. So that just shows you that it's not about the amount that you make, it's about the amount that you keep. The long-lasting solution is for you to condition yourself to save money. When saving money is entrenched in your core, you've conditioned yourself. How do you know when you've reached that destination? Once you condition yourself to save money, you'll look for ways to back out of a purchase or buy a cheaper alternative. Your first thought will be, I probably shouldn't go down this road. It means I will have less money to save if I buy this. That's a vastly different mindset than a spender who thinks, oh man, my salary increase means that now I've got more money to spend. Awesome. I should definitely treat myself for something nice. That's how a spender thinks. So final thoughts. It takes common sense to save money. You don't need a degree in rocket science to figure this stuff out. I haven't provided any earth-shattering information, but I may have opened up your eyes to what you've been doing incorrectly. And if you want different results, you're going to have to do things differently. Saving money requires sacrifice, but it's so worth it. Nothing beats being debt-free and having significant savings. Now, that's awesome. Okay, geez, I think this was actually one of the most important live streams that I've done. I think it's very important that we discussed it. Hopefully it added value to your life. I certainly hope so, because that simple sentiment of the reason why you're not saving money is because saving is not a priority to you is actually very profound. So just look at your cash flow statement, see what you're spending your money on, and you'll realize what you value, what you prioritize. If you want to prioritize money, then you got to save and you got to make those adjustments. So I'm going to leave it at that. I will probably be back on Monday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to try my best. We'll see how that works out. But otherwise, have a good weekend, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.